or this bird and its orange breast. The idea of using complementary colors to enhance or provide variety and beauty in this world. Everything on this earth, again, was designed for a reason. Doesn't mean that these are the only combinations of color that exist, but they are indeed beautiful for a reason, because the colors enhance or complement each other. So let's actually talk about color professionally for a moment. So we've kind of touched on the theory. The book does a great job of covering most of this material, so we're not going to rehash everything the book covers. But we do want to talk about the idea of color as a profession. There are many communities out there that discuss color. This is one of them. Color Lovers is an online community that discusses color. You can actually create color palettes, patterns, and do analyses of different colors on objects, and then post them and share them on this community. In Color Lovers, they create these patterns and share them, and they actually indicate which colors went into the making of the patterns as well. What's also really fun is the trend section of Color Lovers, where you can actually look at color trends today. They'll take the covers of magazines or different products and actually show you the color palettes that went into them. You'll notice they're using screen colors only because this is a web environment, and they give you the hex readout as well as the RGB values just in case your monitor isn't calibrated properly, at least giving you that range. And so you can start here if you're stuck on color, or if you're really passionate about color, you can share your insights, your color palettes, and your ideas with others in this community of color lovers. And you can see how that would work. Another professional use or sort of opportunity for you in color is what's known as trend spotting. Now, the Trend Stop is one of the leading trend sites online, and what's amazing about sites like this is they explore emerging trends in fashion. They look at color, texture, tone, value, all of the things that fashion designers need, or even just designers need, and they offer this for a price. So full access to their site and its content will cost you approximately $5,000 for 1 year subscription per user. So if you have a design studio with, let's say, 8 designers, and each one of them is dealing with trend-related products, you would need to purchase a license for each of them. And this becomes very costly. But obviously, to stay on trend requires a great deal of insight and knowledge, because you wouldn't want to head in the wrong direction if the fashion industry is heading in another. So if you're sensitive to color, if this is something you're passionate about, these are actual places to work. If you're passionate about color, you could end up working at a trend shop and project trends for industries and actually influence the way industry moves color-wise. Another sort of area of color that's related to design is what we know as Pantone swatch books. Now, these books are used in design to help us select the appropriate colors for our print or other jobs. The idea is that Pantone, and actually in Adobe Illustrator, the library digital version of these are loaded and come with Adobe Illustrator. And that's because Pantone is one of the most common libraries or color shops, color houses that sell ink to presses for use in printing, and what's known as most commonly spot colors. Now, Pantone also has what's known as a formula guide, which shows you the CMYK values for very specific colors. They've all been calibrated properly. You open the swatch book and say, I'd like to achieve this specific color. It will tell you the cyan value, the yellow value, the magenta value, and the key value that you should enter in order to achieve that color. These are very useful for color-sensitive printing. They also mix custom colors that don't need mixtures of cyan, yellow, and magenta and key. They actually sell you, for example, Coca-Cola Red or UPS Brown, and we call these colors out by a Pantone number. And so you can look at the swatch books, determine the Pantone number, load the swatch in Adobe Illustrator, and assign spot colors to projects. A spot color creates a new plate and actually prints a solid color without the need to mixing colors in printing. It costs more money, but it is the best way to achieve color accuracy and consistency, and many brands use them so that their colors remain pure. So let's talk for a moment about culture and the way colors work. Now this chart is kind of an interesting chart. Let me describe it. So you'll notice along the horizontal axis down the center of this you have the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and each stands for represents a country. So as we move concentrically within this circle from outside to inside, we see that the world is represented here by the letters. So you have Western, Japanese, Hindu, Native American, Chinese, Asian, Eastern European, Muslim, African, South American, etc. And then, of course, the numbers represent different feelings, different emotions. And what we do is we place the color corresponding to that emotion, to that concept, within the grid to align it with the culture. And you'll see how different cultures interpret different colors. Very fascinating, very beautiful, but very important when we're dealing with international projects to understand what the color might be saying. So let's explore the common messages of color. Okay, so for example, red obviously stimulates, signifies danger, right? In the US, what's interesting is it's a very sort of lustful and adulterous color, whereas in Asia, it represents life, happiness, and fertility. Yellow, and I apologize if this doesn't look yellow on your screen. Again, every screen will be different. If you view this for a brief time, this is a very cheerful color. But if you look at this too long, you're going to start getting tired, okay? Because it actually does stimulate the rods and cones in your eyes and drives them crazy. So it does fatigue people if viewed for too long. Obviously, it suggests gold and the sun and warmth, but it also signifies caution and anxiety if you think about construction colors and caution, police tape, etc. So you can almost assume what blue might mean. Of course, yes, it's a soothing, cool color. It really is. And as in nature, blue does signify cold. And so these things are naturally, blue is naturally inclined to these things because it occurs in nature in these contexts. Orange is a very interesting color. If you had trouble losing weight and you can't figure out why you're always hungry and you're coming home every day to an orange colored apartment, that might tell you why you're having trouble. You see, orange actually evokes thoughts of autumn, but also makes people kind of hungry. I mean, it says it's something's good to eat, and it is the most edible color. So you never know the impact that color might have on your behavior. Now, green has become a very, very commonly used color. In fact, so much so, it's almost become a bad word in industry. To be green or environmentally conscious is something that has been overused in industry. Green is actually a restful color. It does have negative connotations of jealousy, of course, but the natural, healthy kind of spin has made it a very popular color as of late. We see this trend waning a bit, and I think we're all getting a little bit tired of green recently, but it has been a prominent color and will continue to be for a while, I believe. Now, purple, some of you might be thinking royalty, riches. Do you know why purple has been associated with royalty for so long? You know, historically, and you should do some research on this, it's kind of fun, but historically purple was one of the most difficult colors to make because of the element that was required to mix or grind into to make the pigment purple was very rare, very expensive, and only those with a great deal of money and resources could actually afford to create the color back when we would grind pigment out of minerals or objects and actually mix our own paints. And so if you see paintings that are very old or dated paintings that have purple in them, you know that they were commissioned usually by very wealthy people who could afford the materials and the means to make that color. Very hard color to make naturally. Of course, here's another one of those warm colors that can also influence or make people hungry for very good reason. We have chocolate, of course. All the girls are seeing brown and thinking of chocolate, of course. The guys probably see this and think mud, but yes, chocolate, bread, meat. Obviously,